Is R. Crosby Lyles, and this is News from the Can. This is the Atlantic satellite. I usually get my weather from AccuWeather, but their satellites are shitty. They only show you you only see this like it cuts off the whole Atlantic Ocean, and that's really the part that I want to see. So I had to look around, but this is, like I said, this is the Atlantic satellite. This is at Intellicast.com. I'll put the link in the description. And their graphics are nice and smooth, and everything. But what I wanted to show here, we've seen this movie before last year, Mathew, I believe. Hurricane Mathew. Similar track to Irma here, and it was going to come up the East Coast. And there was a book that was written back in the 70s, and I think there's even one out now called Category 5, but the one that was written back in the 70s is called Cat 5. And the book was about this nightmare scenario of a Category 5 hurricane coming up the coast of Florida. And the reason that that's so bad is because the strongest winds of the storm are on the northeast part of the storm, and what happens is that when it comes up the coast this way, that's your maximum storm surge when it comes up, going northward up a coast like that. And that just so happens to be the forecast track that they have. You see that M there, that means major. You look at the legend here, major hurricane is M, H is just a regular hurricane, speeds of 74 to 110 miles an hour. S is for tropical storm, D is for tropical depression. So you see here all the way up to the north coast of Florida, the major. So we're talking at least 110 mile an hour winds, if not more, and gusts, exceeding. So, and here you got this forecast track right in the middle of the cone going right up the coast. So this is like a dangerous scenario. Now, we saw this movie last year, people were, Shepard Smith was on TV telling people, get off the coast or you are going to die, and I thought, well, that's a little extreme, that's, you don't want to get too emotional because people just burn out on it. But I will say this, this is what concerns me, these forecast tracks, they can move around, but I'm looking at this little, watch this right here, this little piece right here. See that? So it's like this. Okay, you have like a cold front, a cool front right here coming down. So you have that line there. And sometimes this time of year, those fronts will come and they will back up. And that's what we see right there. That's kind of backing up a little bit. So it tells me a little something about that, where they're getting that trajectory from. And this is a kind of, me personally, I like to look at the satellite imagery, because that tells me a lot about how all the air masses are moving and things like that. And the models that they have are generally pretty good. I think the European model is one of the best, interestingly. And they're constantly improving. So I would say that if this storm does stay on this track, this is going to be serious as serious gets. If it travels up the coast, this coast right here, you're talking about from Miami to Hollywood, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Pompano, all these areas up here, and everything in between. It's just like it looks like it's just tracking right along. So, and if it depending on how it hits this right here, you're talking about some significant damage. This could be this looks super duper serious. So, I know we saw this movie last year, and people were like hyped up and freaked out about it. But my whole point in this video is just to say that, if they tell you to just pay attention to what's going on, and if they tell you if you're living on the coast, my niece, lives over out here somewhere, on the coast, and last year, the storm came and they didn't leave, and they had some minor damage. They had a little bit of lost some roof tiles or something, and some minor flooding, and then I think they were out of power for a few days. It took a few days for them to get their power back on. But if this storm remains to be a major hurricane and skirts the coast this way, we're talking about major storm surge, major flooding, and if you stay on, if you stay in those coastal areas, if you don't get up on the mainland somewhere, if you don't get to higher ground, safer ground, you are maybe putting your life in serious jeopardy. So there's a chorus of voices out there that are going to say this. I would just say pay attention to this one, because this one looks bad. This is a serious deal here. And that's all I have. Again, here's your telecast. This is I like this. For one thing, you can see they have the grid on here, right? They have your longitude and latitude. So it's easy to see, it's easy to track, and that's Intellicast.com. The link is in the description. Anyway, y'all be safe out there. This is really not a laughing matter at all. Jeez. So I live in Florida, so yeah. To all my friends and neighbors out there, be safe. God bless. This is R. Crosby Lyles, and this has been News from the Can. See you.